So that's the destination MAC address. What is the source MAC address? It's our local MAC address ending in 06D6. So our default gateway is in our local area network, meaning that we source the frame from ourselves, and the destination of the frame is the MAC address of that device we're trying to talk to in the local area network. So R1, our default gateway. So that's the MAC address there, ending in 7340. So let's go back over to our switch. So what is the source of our frame? Frame arrives inbound on fast Ethernet 0/1. We see that it has this MAC address. Now, what do? Right? We already had this entry in our MAC address table. Well, let's not forget that there's a timer that keeps counting down. What's that timer for? Well, if I don't hear from 06D6 before this timer expires, then I'm going to flush the entry out of my MAC address table so I can keep it as fresh as possible. So I'm going to update that timer now because the frame arrived inbound on the interface from 06D6. If the timer had 3 minutes left on it, let's reset it to 5 minutes. If the timer had 2 minutes left on it, let's reset it to 5 minutes. So every time I receive a frame from a device, I will reset the entry in the MAC address table back to the default of 5 minutes unless you've manually changed the timer or the aging time of the MAC address table. But if you don't, by default, it's 5 minutes. So I've updated the timer now, 06D6 out fast Ethernet 0/1. What's the destination? Do you remember what it was? Remember what it was? B83861AD7340. That was the MAC address. Do we have an entry for that? And we do. It's right here. So the entry for that is B83861AD7340. It says you can reach that out gigabit 0/1. Without this entry in the table, what would we have to do? We'd have to flood it out all ports except the port it came in on. So we love the fact that this entry is in the MAC address table because now we can just efficiently forward it out gigabit 0/1. So where does gigabit 0/1 take us? Let's look at that right up here. Gig 0/1 takes us all the way up to who? To DSW1. So DSW1's a switch. Let's go to DSW1. We'll type in show MAC address table dynamic. And what are we looking for here? Well, did we learn and update our MAC address table based on the port the frame came in on? So look at the entry here, 06D6. That's PC1. This is gig 101 on DSW1. Look down here, gig 101 over here. There's the MAC address of 06D6. Beautiful. It's working perfectly. So I've added that to my MAC address table based on the source MAC address information in the frame. Now what? Well, what's our destination? It's B83861AD7340. Do I have an entry in my MAC address table for that? I do. It's right here. So what does that mean? It means that DSW1 is going to take this frame and forward it efficiently out gigabit 1/0/10. If this entry wasn't in the MAC address table, we'd have to flood it out all ports except the port it came in on. So we take the frame and we forwarded it out. Now, at any point in time, did ASW1 or DSW1 modify the frame? Did it change the frame? Did it do anything to it? No, it didn't. It didn't. Did it change the MAC addresses? No. It left the MAC addresses intact, left the frame intact, sent it all the way up to R1. And then R1 receives it, and R1 then processes the packet at that point in time, not the frame. So it takes the frame inbound and says, oh, this is for me, based on the destination MAC address, obliterates the frame, and now it's dealing with packets. So our switches are dealing with the frames for forwarding, but our routers are going to be dealing with packets for forwarding. So frame forwarding process. Know it, because it's going to come in handy whenever you are trying to troubleshoot why communication is not occurring successfully in your layer 3 infrastructure amongst your switches.